Have you ever wanted to listen to the wisdom of somebody who's been there? Today's guest is that person. After raising her own kids, she and her family collectively decided to adopt and love kids. With those adopted kids, trauma therapy was needed. She learned to connect with those kiddos on a deep level. And what she learned in trauma therapy not only helped her build connection with her adoptive kids, she learned it was useful in all her relationships. Thank you for joining us today in this heartwarming and encouraging episode. Does your child have a speech-language delay and you really want them to talk? Do difficult behaviors derail home life and you know the frustration is a communication struggle? Does your child see a speech therapist and you wonder, what do they do and how can I help? If these or similar questions are in your mind, this podcast is for you. Hello, my name is Dinalynn Rosenbusch. I am a speech-language pathologist that has worked with children from birth to 21 for 3 decades. And in my classrooms, I see you wanting to connect with the heart of your child, but their speech and language skills create a barrier. So if you have a kiddo that has difficult behaviors, needs to expand their language or learn to say speech sounds, and maybe even receives speech therapy, stay tuned. Because in this podcast, you will learn how to use your daily life as a tool to communication practice and how to do that practice. You will become confident knowing you are making the difference you want to make. And you will hear success stories of parents who have navigated these struggles already. We'll do this all while focusing on building deep, meaningful connection and confidence in your kiddo. So grab a cup of coffee along with a notebook and pen. It's time to speak in the way your child's brain understands. And that is the language of play. If you listened to the last episode, you know that the oceanic country of Palau was recognized as having the language of play being the #1 parenting podcast in that country. And I am saying again that this week also, the language of play continues to be the #1 parenting podcast in your country. So thank you again, Palau. I am so glad you're here and listening. Listeners, in the show notes, I have a valuable resource for you. You may have heard it before. It is 5 ways to get your kids to listen better. You can go in the show notes and have that 6-email sequence come to you with guidance and support for those kiddos that need to pay attention and listen a little bit better. Now I want to give a shout out to this episode's sponsor. That is the Center for Play and Exploration. The Center for Play and Exploration is an organization that supports adults in restoring some of the childlike wonder you had as a kid. As parents, we can get so busy that we get lost in our to-do list and other tasks of life while we try to keep up. We can lose our spontaneity and joy. This is when life gets too hard and we stop being the parents we want to be. This is true in your other relationships as well. So let's change that. Contact the Center for Play and Exploration, use the link in the show notes, and mention the language of play for a 20% discount. And finally, freedom is one of my highest values. Part of what I love about being a podcaster is the freedom it gives me to set my own schedule and pursue my dreams. I'm also passionate about creating financial freedom, which means having enough passive income coming in to pay your bills and to support your lifestyle so that you can choose what you want to do with your precious time and energy. This is what I am working towards. Would you like to do this with me? My friend Penelope Jane Smith has given all the listeners of the Language of Play a guest pass. See in the show notes for more information and be my guest at Financial Freedom 101 for this 3-day online event. Now let's enjoy this episode with Tricia Goyer. She is a speaker, a podcast host, and the author of over 100 books. That is amazing. And listeners, you can read more about her in the show notes. Tricia, welcome to the Language of Play. I am so honored that you would be here today. Thank you for giving your time.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself as we get started. You've got a beautiful, wonderful story, and let's let you tell it.
Yeah. So I'm married to John, and we have 10 kids. We have three biological. Then we adopted one from a private adoption, and then six more from foster care. Currently, yeah, I
Ooh,
know. Let's just pause there. Let's just pause
that
there for a
is worth a
second.
deep breath.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, that's so beautiful, really. So beautiful. And thank you for doing that.
Yeah. And now we have grandkids too. So we are enjoying and my grandma lives with us. My
Oh,
grandma is 95 and she's lived with us since 1999. So she's been with us a long time. So we have my grandma here with us. So we have a full, busy house. And I write books. I say it's my break. I get to go work in my office in the quiet for a while and get my books done. I have also, I speak at conferences. I love speaking at especially homeschool conferences. And that's where I met my co-author, Leslie Nunnery. And I just enjoy time with my kids. We love board games. We love going on walks together. We have three dogs. Two of them are golden doodles that we picked up at one of my speaking conferences. My kids went with me and they said, "Oh, let's stop at this pet store." And we walked out with two golden doodles, or mini black golden doodles.
oh, wow. Your
So
house is very full, and I
it's
love
very full.
it's very full, and you've got multi-generations there. It sounds absolutely like a very life-giving place.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
bet that's why your grandma is 95,
Yeah.
because
She
there's a
said
lot of life and love in a family like that.
that's right. And she just having her there, just her perspective too. I'd be running around at what time I was homeschooling seven of the kids all at one time. Three of them were grown or older, but then I was homeschooling seven, and she would say, "These are the best years of your life." So it's just a good reminder to have that person speaking life into you and encouraging you as you're in the middle of the chaos has been great.
Hmm. Yeah, I can see that. I've my kids are older now, and I've got grandkids too. And those years of utter chaos, exhaustion, laughing, crying, all of the life are really, really fond memories. And it is like some of the best years of my
Yes.
life.
Yes.
It is the best years. Other than that, I think there's like best week or best days,
Right.
but for big chunks of years, yeah, that's that's really a good time. It's hard. It's not
It
easy.
is very hard. It
It
is
is
very
very
hard.
hard, but that doesn't mean it's not good.
Hmm.
Now, when you adopted kiddos, you went through a process. I'm making an assumption here because I've never heard it otherwise. You went through a process of the children learning to be with you, learning
Hmm.
to connect with you, you learning how to communicate with them. I mean, I'm sure it was seven different ways because you've got seven adoptions, but what would be what you'd say is a generalized experience?
Yeah, well, the first one was a newborn, so that seemed like it was very easy. But the second set, we got a 2-year old, 2.5-year old, and a 5-year old from foster care, and they had a failed adoption right before us, and they had been moved around a lot because of their behavior. So, I imagine they've already gone through trauma just in their biological parents' home, in foster care, moved around a lot, failed adoption right before us, and so we found out about them on a Monday. And they said we're looking for someone, a family who would just will stick with these kids. We had just had our house open the month before, open for foster care, and so we said, well, let's meet them and find out more. And so we heard about them on Monday, found out more from their caseworker on Tuesday, met them on Wednesday, and brought them home on Thursday. And so one of the things that I think is so like your heart has been preparing for opening your home to kids, but then you're discovering who they are. You don't know what they like, what they don't like, what they can do or say, and it's just like I remember driving. We went and picked them up. They loaded their things in the back of our car, and it was like a maybe 20-minute process of the day we picked them up. And all of a sudden, we're driving. It was like 45 minutes from our house. And my husband's like, the state of Arkansas just gave us two children. And we didn't like we knew their names. we had a file of their records, but that's really because we didn't get to talk to anyone. The former family, failed adoption,
Ooh.
was just overwhelmed with, couldn't handle some of the behavior stuff. And so that was really hard. And so right away, it seemed I was doing a lot of correcting. Don't hurt her. Don't throw this. Because again, behavior issues are really difficult. And I remember calling the caseworker after 2 weeks. No one even called to check on us. And they're probably afraid to hear what they were going to say, but what we're going to say. But finally, I talked to the caseworker, and she's like, "Can you stick it through?" I'm like, "Yes." We're like, "We'll figure it out," but this is really hard. And so we got into trauma therapy right away. And I was surprised that the first thing that the therapist had us do, instead of talking about behavior things and how to do discipline, we worked on connection. And
Yes.
I realized the connection actually helped with conversation.
Yes.
It helped with language. I love how you just talk about all of these things on your podcast. But our little guy, he had like 3 words when he came. He would say ball. He would say sausage because that was his favorite thing to eat. I can't remember. Mama was probably the other one, although he'd call anyone mama because had so many mom. He would go
Mm.
to anyone. I could have to watch him in the store. He would just run off with anyone because he had no person he was bonded to. And she just had put us through some very simple things in therapy that helped us to bond, to communicate, to connect better. And I actually use those tools with all my kids
Yeah.
now, and it really has made a big difference.
That's beautiful. Give us an example of one of those tools. And am I
Yeah.
right that you did it through the vehicle of play?
Yes, absolutely. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely, and it works. And wow, you're not surprised at that by that at all.
No.
um, yeah. So she had us go in, and she was in another room because he was 2.5. Oh, he's probably almost 3 at this point. So she was in another room with the window, and she's like, "You're just gonna play with him." And she said, "These are the bins of toys. He could choose anything he wants, and I want you to do 3 things." And I had a little thing in my ear. She'd explained it first, but when we were in the room, I had a little thing in my ear so I could hear her. She says, "I want you to make eye contact and to say what he's doing. So if he's rolling the car, you say you are playing with the red car, or you are stacking the blocks, or you are making food for mommy. So you're stating what he's doing. You're repeating what he says. So if he says blue car, I would just say blue car. And he'd say vroom, and I would say vroom. And then you are praising him. So look at you. Great job lining up the cars. Thank you for sharing with mommy. What a kind boy. And so we would practice this in her office. And she goes, "Your job is to go home and every single day for 10 minutes, have a special set of toys that's only those toys are for this time. Make it, it doesn't have to even be the same time during the day because we have some days things get out of whack, but just,
No way.
yeah, yeah, I know. There's many days. Most days got out of whack after that. But she says, just make sure you have 10 minutes and it's just your time with him. And so we go into the room and he gets so excited because those are toys he only gets to play with during that time. And I would just do that, repeat what he said, make eye contact, repeat what he said, say what he was doing, and praise him. And that really did connect us, our bond. It wasn't just this, how am I going to control this child that is breaking everything in my home? It
Yeah.
was, we were playing together and I was laughing with him and I was saying, look at you, good job. And the more, this is another thing, the more I would praise him, the more throughout the day he would want that. So this 10 minutes was kind of training for both of us. He learned to listen to my voice. He knew I was praising him and appreciating him and caring for him. And he would listen because before he wouldn't listen because there's so many voices that had been in his life.
I can
Um,
understand that.
I can understand that too. And then also for me to see him as my son and really enjoy him and play with him and then praise him throughout the day, then he started doing things like looking to me for that praise because he would like,
Mm.
I'm doing the right thing. And that she said, the therapist said, even if he throws a toy in the direction of the box, great job, look at you cleaning up your toys, you almost made it. And then pretty soon he's like, oh, this could be a game. And then we would like, look, you're putting more in. So even through, he's 14 now. And then he's the youngest out of all of our kids. My oldest is 35. My youngest is 14. I have grandkids. And so that the pause and looking at them when someone's talking to you or when they're doing something, saying, oh, you're cleaning the kitchen. I see you're doing a great job wiping down the counters. Thank you. And just that connection through all of life. Well, everyone, with everyone, not just our kids, just really it makes a big difference.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I love I love that. And praising him also gives him what I call the target. He knows now what you want him to do and he wants the praise. So
Hmm.
he's feeling himself proud of himself and he's feeling you proud of him. It
Yes.
works in every way, doesn't it? So,
Yes, absolutely.
oh, that is fantastic. How did your own children adjust to having adoptive children?
Our biological children were ages at the time, they're probably like 24 and married. And so our oldest grandson is only 9 months younger than our youngest son. So they're best buddies,
Okay.
which has been awesome. But it's also hard because my grandson comes over. I'm like, "Hi, Clayton," and he runs to the house. "Hi, Nana," and goes to play with my son. And so it's like, I want time with you, but that's his best buddy. Um, and then our daughter, she was in college, and so she was sharing her bedroom with toddlers as she was going to a state college, but it was in our town. And so she'd come home and the toddler would have scribbled on her essays. And so, she was sharing, but she really was just, I mean, none of them really, that we decided as a family to this is our mission to care for kids. And so none of them were jealous, or it was more helping. And
Mm-hmm.
then our youngest was in high school, so he was just finishing high school, and he became the most amazing big brother. So he was probably 18. He was just this last year of high school when we started adopting, and he became the one that was on the floor with them, playing with them. If I needed to run and do an errand, he's like, "I got this." Taking care of the toddlers, take him out in the backyard, and it was really really great to see that because we as a family said this is something I think we should do. That they were all involved, and even when things were hard, it wasn't as if they felt like we were taking time away from them. They really felt like that we were all in it together.
That's nice. What is the gap between the youngest biological and the oldest adopted?
22. Oh,
22.
the youngest biological and oldest adopted kid. I was thinking from the youngest child to the oldest child is 22 years.
Okay.
From
Yeah.
so let
The
me think.
gap.
I'm thinking about this. Like 6 years. It's
Okay.
because we after we adopted the 2-year-old and the 5-year-old, we did stuff completely out of order. We adopted a sibling group of preteen and teenage girls. So 4 girls that were a sibling group, and so I guess maybe more, a little bit more, maybe 6 or 7 years between the oldest adopted to the youngest biological.
Okay.
And by the time we adopted her, she was 15, and he was, early 20s by that time.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense to me. So your
Yeah.
kids were quite a bit older by the time and able
Hmm.
to really be invested in that decision making about bringing other people into the house.
Yes, and I really feel it really worked well because we had a lot of time with our first three. We did travel basketball with two of them, which the boys and the girls traveled together. So we spent a lot of time on the road with them, getting to know them. We do game
Hmm.
nights. We did a lot of reading out loud with them. And this is one of the things I love to write and talk about. I mean, sit down, play a board game, go on those road trips, spend those time with your kids. Um, and we had that. And then when they were one was out of the house, one was in college, the other in high school. When they were old enough where they can drive themselves places, they had their own friend groups. Then we started adopting kids, but I really feel like that was our set one. Then we have our set two, which is completely different. I mean, I used to think I'm the most amazing mom. Look at how great these kids are until I felt like God's like, here, try these kids. And then there was, and it just really stretched me with special needs, with trauma. I remember sitting in a therapist's office, like, I didn't even know this world existed with trauma therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, lots of learning to help kids with dyslexia. It really was good because I feel like I've experienced both things. I've experienced the kids, not the just variety of strengths and weaknesses in kids, where my older ones, it was super easy for them to learn. They did great academically. We had bonding from the beginning to seeing there's so many different children with different needs in different ways to help them. But also, when I learned to care for the younger ones well, I think it benefited all my kids and my grandkids on how I connect. I don't take it for granted. I know that sometimes you have to work at it, and I think it's helped with all my relationships with all my kids.
Yeah. I bet it's helped with all your relationships, period.
Hmm. Hmm.
Even with your grandma and your husband.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, because when we learn to build our connection, it goes all over because we're
And
all human.
and I
Yeah.
think we never learn how to do that. It's just we just think it comes naturally. We no one teaches us how to make eye contact and how to praise people and say what you appreciate about them and really take
Yeah.
notice of them. And even with my older kids, I was doing that, but not with the same intention that I learned to do with the younger kids.
Yeah. That makes sense because we're busy doing the do. And then when
Hmm.
you learn that this other thing is needed, then you add it in, right?
And it became the
As you
most
learn.
important thing. And it became the most important thing.
Of
Like
course.
it was much more to connect than to
Mhm.
finish that homework sheet, honestly, because that's a relationship that they need.
Mhm. And the relationship is really the glue that makes anything work, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. This has been beautiful. Now you have a book that has just come out.
Yes.
So this is book 100 or something like that for you,
Sounds,
isn't it?
I need to go back and count. It's right around there. Yes. Right.
That's
Right around 100.
amazing. That is absolutely amazing to be such a prolific author because even authors that put out tons of books rarely pass the 100 mark. So that is incredible. So congratulations on that.
Thank
Tell
you.
us about that book and where we can get it.
Yeah, so this is Faith That Sticks. It is 5 real life ways to disciple your preteens. It's available wherever books are sold, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all the places. It's so fun to going by bookstores and I'm like, oh, there's my book.
I can.
So it's fun to have this one out in the world. And really, our heart is for. I co-wrote it with Leslie Nunnery. She and her husband David do the Teach Them Diligently family conferences. And I've spoke at their conferences, and I realized like we speak around about the same topics. Kind of when we have the speaker lineup, and we got to know each other better. And this is our second book that we have written together, and our hearts are really there's lots of stuff with toddlers, like how to connect with toddlers and teenagers. Everyone's like stressed out, so they're going to go read how to help their teenagers, but we don't really appreciate preteens, and so we really wanted to talk to parents about this. This is golden window where they're not little kids anymore, but also they still enjoy maybe games and snuggles, and they're not completely like rolling their eyes at you yet, and driving off. And so it's really a chance to see that parents can really be a good influence in their kids during this year, and those conversations, connections, serving together, building that relationship will carry you through the teen years and into the adult years. And now I love our sons live close. One of them, he's just buying a new house, like 10 minutes from us. And our other son's married. He lives about an hour away. And regularly, probably at least 2 or 3 times a month, they'll come over for board game nights. And sometimes they bring their friends. So I'm sitting around with these guys in their 20s and early 30s playing board games. They're like, Mom, you want to play a game tonight? And or they'll text like, Hey, Jacob, which is one of my son's friends, wants to know if you want to play a game with us. And so I think when we show up for our kids, it's a relationship that can go through life, and even their friends appreciate it. When my son's 25-year-old friend wants to come hang out and play board games at our house, like I definitely count that as a win.
Absolutely is a win.
Yeah.
Yes, that is. So, listeners, if you ever wonder who to listen to, Tricia is definitely a woman that has
Mm,
experience, and her book is going to certainly be a worth every word read.
thank you.
So, yes, thank you for taking the time to be with us on the language of play. I very much appreciate it. Your wealth and wisdom is tremendous. Now, before I have you go, I would like you to think of one thing that you would tell the audience. So I typically like to have my guests say something. There's so many things you said, but if you could distill it down to one nugget of truth that you would like a parent to remember, what would you say?
Definitely make eye contact with your kids. I think so many times we talk at them
Mm-hmm.
instead of talking to them. And I think just putting down the phone,
Mm-hmm.
looking away from the computer, even when you're doing dishes, turn off the water for a minute And if they're talking to you, just give them that 30 seconds when you make eye contact with them. It really makes a big difference. It makes us see that these are little people, not just people we're directing around and trying to get them to do what we want, but they're people with hearts and souls that are going to grow into amazing adults. And so just take that time and make that eye contact. And that's like the best first step.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you again. This has been
Thank
wonderful.
you.
It's been a delightful conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again to the sponsor of this episode, the Center for Play and Exploration. Hey parents, I hope you found this episode helpful. If so, would you please take 30 seconds and share it with a friend who also lives or works with children? I would really appreciate it if you would leave a quick review for the show on Apple Podcasts. I read every review, and it lights me up to know that this show is making a difference. Then come join my Facebook community, where you'll meet other parents who are dedicated to helping their children grow too. You'll find the link in the show notes. Thank you for joining me. Now it's time to go. Let's pop our kiddos in the strollers and go look around outdoors and see what we have to talk about.